Okay. Can I do a true story? Motherfucking Friday. Actually, I've been like wanting to make videos about like ridiculous shit that's happened, but sometimes I don't. But now I do. So I'm gonna do some Bantu knots, okay? And I'm gonna tell you about some crazy shit that happened to me when I was in New Orleans this past times. So girl, let me tell you. So at one point, I'm doing tarot on the street and shit, right? And it was going real good. I was really enjoying myself. I was on the corner of Franklin. Was it Franklin? No, Frenchman and Royal. And that's where I was doing tarot. If you are a weirdo like myself and you want to Google map that, you'll see I was like in an intersection, like really close to a park and shit. It was a great like location. Like I made some good ass money doing tarot out there, but I would say that like doing tarot online versus doing tarot in person, it's a totally different like dynamic. Cause like when I do tarot online, it's like I don't know. Like, I mean, I always get nervous, like, whenever I do tarot online, because, like, I really don't know what the cards are going to show me. Sometimes I feel like I'm uneasy in retrospect because, like, I know I have something to say that's, like, really crazy to this person. Like, and when I say crazy, I mean, like, just something that, like, I know something's going to happen, or just, like, I have, like, this feeling, like, this anxiety. And sometimes it's just because, like, I'm doing a service, so, you don't want to fuck it up. I think it's also like when you like first like start learning how to answer phones and shit like at your job, you're like, what the fuck? Like you're just hoping you don't fuck it up. And like sometimes like I don't want every reading to be the same in the sense that like I don't want to like say the same thing like all the time. Like I try to switch it up. I try to like approach it differently because I don't want to get bored like with like I want to have like a routine. You know what I mean? I want it to be like real like lax. And like I feel like when I I went to go get my tarot read. I got my tarot read because I was like walking on the street with my friend Leah, and it ended up being that this person like she like grabs my arm and she like says something like really profound, and I was just like whoa, like I just couldn't believe that like she like just grabbed my hand and was like talking to me about something that like seemed relevant at the time. And granted, like I know for a fact like she would not give me any like direct answers on what I should do, but I was like living a messy ass life anyway, so like I don't even think she knew like what to even tell me. You feel me? Like I think she knew that I was like messy and that like there was nothing to really tell me because like in the end that situation just ended like very crazily. So I feel like I feel like from that experience I realized that like people aren't like coming off the street into my little boutique. You know what I mean? Like they're seeing my links and they're like, oh, I want to go to this person, I want to get my cards read, and like that's awesome. But it's like a totally different feeling like when you're outside and you're like on the street. Like it's crazy. Like I mean, like the first night I ever did tarot, I stayed outside till like 3 o'clock in the morning, for real, and it was crazy because I was like just trying to hustle, and I didn't. I didn't get my hustle together, and it really sucks because like the first person that ever paid me to do tarot in person was like this drunk ass black dude who was like a rapper, and he like came out of nowhere and he was just like, "Do you believe in Jesus?" And whenever people ask me if I believe in Jesus, I typically don't say no, even though I'm not sure. You know what I mean? I would say I'm agnostic, and I don't mean that in a way to like open up dialogue like where people are like gonna tell me about their fucking religion because I truly don't care. But I think it's more about when people ask you if you believe in Jesus, they're usually looking for a yes. Like they're usually looking for a yes because whatever the fuck you're doing or have done clearly exhibits to them that they need to ask you that shit. And like, let me just tell you right now, doing tarot outside is slightly frightening because some people think that like I am like the devil's wife. Like no shade. Like I'm not even trying to be extra when I tell you this because it's extra when it happens. But I've been on the street doing tarot and people have like yelled stuff to me like, "You're working with the devil. Like this is the devil's work." Like this, like what happened to me like multiple times. Like this is like a scenario that's happened to me at least 10 times in New Orleans. I was like on the corner doing tarot. just sitting there smiling at people. And like usually, like, not no shade, when I do tarot outside, I be looking sickening. You know what I mean? Like, I do my makeup, do my weave. You know what I mean? And then I wear like a cute ass little outfit. Usually it's like a dress. Usually I wear a dress. Typically I only wear dresses actually. And I just sit on the ground with my little table and all my shit, my sign, and I just look pleasant. That's it. That's how I just sit there and like try to look as pleasant as possible, while it is hot as fuck and I'm sitting on some hard ass ground. But then, fucking one day I got a chair, but the chair was kind of whack that I was sitting in. And I didn't even like that shit. I kind of like the dynamic of being like beneath someone in the reading. I feel like it puts them more at ease. I feel like when you sit over somebody or you're eye to eye, I feel like that gives a different dynamic than I want. I don't want that person to feel challenged by me. I don't want them to feel like dominated by me at all. I want them to just like feel like, if anything, they have more power than I do. And I feel like stance has a lot to do with it. I'm all over the place right now talking to you guys, but I guess that's what happens when like you're doing your hair. You're just like blah blah blah. But yeah, so I'm like I'm on the corner, and like I've had multiple situations where a dude, typically a black dude, and his like partner would be like walking down the street, and then the black dude would say to his partner, "Yo, do you want to get your cards read?" And then like the partner would like do something hella extra, like go, "Oh hell no," or like start yelling at me, or start like looking at me like I'm like scary. Also, whenever people read my sign, because my sign like said like Madam Crawfish tarot card reading, but like people would like look at me and they're like, "Oh, this is a cute person," and they'll smile at me and give me like a cute little smile, and then they would like look at my sign and they'll see my sign that has my cute little face on it, so it's like, "Oh, my cute little face," and like also, and they're like, "Oh, it's you," and like they get all excited, but then when they read tarot card reading, that's when they're like, "You're the devil." Dead ass. And so like part of like my summer was like, or rather my spring, was dealing with people thinking I was the devil, or that I was conjuring shit up, or that I was working with voodoo. But as I was saying, the first dude that ever gave me any money came up to me and was like, "Do you believe in God?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was like, "Okay, I just had to make sure." And then he like sits down and then he's like, "How much is it gonna cost?" And I was like, "However much you have," because like I was still doing like via donation, and then I started just doing it like $5 reading, so people would like be like, "Oh, $5 is really cheap," so they'll give me a good ass tip. So that was like kind of bomb. And so this dude gave me $3. He was like, "For the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost," and I was like, cool. You know what I mean? I was like, that's kind of crazy. But then he started asking me hella questions, and I saw a lot of good stuff for him. But like he was having like some issues with like his relationship. It was like really shitty because I think like he was like Mr. Friendly, but like it wasn't like anything like, I don't know. I feel like he's like more of someone that's like trying to be like put himself out there. But I think like if you're trying to be a celebrity, like you gotta kind of have that attitude, like, or else it probably sucks. You know what I mean? Unless like you give a fuck about other people and want to be all up around other people all the time, like that probably really sucks to be a celebrity. And that's what he wanted. He wanted to be a celebrity. He wanted to be around hella people. But his like girlfriend was like not into that shit. And like, I mean, again, I feel that shit too. But it just sucked. But he was like so happy that I was talking to him, and like he really like felt like what I was saying to him was like real shit. So then he gave me some more money, and then I was like, "Thank you." And then his brother was like, "What did you tell my brother?" And I was like, "That's between your brother and I." And then he was like, "Well, thanks to you, now we're going to fucking the casino." And I was like, "I didn't tell that nigga shit about the casino." So then, like, out of nowhere, this nigga comes out and he's like, "I feel so lucky right now that I talked to you. Like, I feel like I'm gonna go to Harrah's and, like, make all this money." He's like, "Can you pull some more cards for me?" And I was like, "You have to pay me." Like, I was like, "I already, like, pulled cards for you. Like, if you want another session, like, we could do another session, but you're gonna have to pay me." And he was like, "Nah, I don't want to pay you any more money." He was like, "I feel lucky," and da-da-da. And I was like, "Cool for you, dude." And then, like, his brother was mad at me. He was like, "If he loses all his money tonight, it's going to be your fault." And I was like, "How so?" You know, that didn't even come up. You know what I mean? But whatever, get out of here. And then, let me think some other times. One time, I went out there and, you know, I'm, like, really weird about, like, eating breakfast. I know that people are like, "It's how you start your day." But it's, like, not really for me. I don't really like breakfast, especially if I wake up hella early. I'm big on lunch. I'm a luncher. Lunch is really where I get it. And so I was just like, I would just go out there and I would sit for a couple hours. I'd be so hungry because I like really didn't plan to get food, or like I just thought something would happen for me. And most of the time it did. Most of the time I'd be able to manifest like a person that I know that would come by and just like offer me food or something like that. But I remember like the first time I really went out and was like trying to do my thing, I really didn't have nobody I thought that would come by. And this like white dude came by and his name was like, I think Shiloh or something. No, Jasper. That sounds crazy. Oh, that nigga's name was Shiloh or Jasper. Oh, God. It was Jeremiah, actually. Okay, anyways. Shiloh, Jasper, Jeremiah. That shit makes sense to me how that happened. Anyways, so one time this like white dude comes out of nowhere and he's just like, how much do you charge? And I was like, whatever you want to pay me is cool. And then he's like rolled up on me and like I did a reading for him and it was like really great. And like he was like, wow. He told me that like some of the cars that came up were cars that came up for him before. He's like, oh, this car follows me around. And I was like, really? And it had a lot to do with his family. And like we had a good conversation. And then he was just like, are you hungry? And I was like, I am hungry. And he was like, what do you want to eat? And I was like, I don't really care. And then he was like, okay. He's like, I'll be right back. He bought me a pack of cigarettes, this good ass pineapple drink that was like just like hella pieces of pineapple and some pineapple juice and like some orange juice or something. And then he brought me a slice of pizza and an orange. I was like really pumped about it. That was like really awesome. And like that's what I mean. Like when I was on Twitter, I was like, oh, I would prefer like barter based economy because like I prefer like someone like pays me in a way that like they see it would be good. Because I think like a lot of times like even if you can't get money, like that was like such a great gift because it was like, oh, I have cigarettes and like cigarettes are a way for me to barter as well. People will trade you stuff for cigarettes, believe it or not. You know what I mean? I know that sounds like some jail type shit, but it is real. You know what I mean? Like I know for a fact that I traded cigarettes for things in the past in New Orleans for sure. Because I'm not like a big smoker. Like I like to smoke cigarettes on occasion. However, I would prefer to give someone who smokes cigarettes my cigarette. I've done that many times because like I know I'm not like a smoker like that. I enjoy cigarettes, but I'm not like a smoker like that. I am a smoker, not like that. But I smoke cigarettes. I'm not trying to like make it seem like I don't smoke cigarettes because I certainly do. What else happened? Oh yeah, there was one time this couple came up to me and this person was like, oh, like, do you accept trades? And I was like, yeah, because I actually had on my sign that I did accept trades. So she was like, what kind of trades? And I was like, anything you want to trade. And then she was like, oh, can I trade a bodywork session? And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, we could do this right here. And I'm like, word. So then I did a reading for her while her girlfriend like stood on the corner and waited. And it was really good. And she was like really nice. And then like afterwards, like she gave me this good ass massage. And like it was so good. And like she did not ignore my back fat. I was like, yes, girl, get into these back rolls. She was like, people really don't like to get into this area. I was like, I know, but I need you to do that. She was doing it already though, but she was like, see, I knew, like, people don't ever say, like, bigger people I work on don't ever say, but I feel like that's part of your body. I'm like, of course it is. Get into the back fat. Why would you not massage my back fat, bitch? Get into it. Like, no shade to her, because she was cool. Plus, she did, like, massages, like, $60 an hour. Like, no shade, like, that's expensive, but it's still, like, cheaper than, like, what is out there, for people like traditionally doing massages. Like that shit could cost you like $100 for an hour. So I was like, damn, that's a steal. But it was cool that she did a trade for me. I really was like, I felt so relaxed after she did it. She worked all my chakras. It was positive. Let's see. I have more things that happened in New Orleans. It was crazy. Oh yeah, one time this dude, oh my god. Okay, so I had this like whole system hooked up to where I would like put my poster, or rather my sign, in my little bike, like a bike caddy. It was like one of those things that like the like little kids ride in. What what is it called? Like a bike trailer. A bike trailer. There we go. There's the words. So I had a bike trailer, and I put my poster in there for my sign for my tarot card reading. I put my table in there. I had like this chair for my customers, which was like like a leather chair that I had like fixed so that it came in two pieces. There was like the top part where you could sit, and then the bottom part, which was the wheels. And so I had put the top part in, but like something happened. I think Collie was sleeping. I didn't want to wake her, so like I forgot to bring my wheels. I had everything but the wheels to my chair, so like nobody could. So like I brought all my shit down to Frenchman Street, and nobody could sit down, and I didn't want to walk back, so I like texted Indy to bring my wheels with them when they came down to the quarter, and they said that they would on their way down. And so I like waited for probably like 30 minutes like before they got there, and this like random guy comes up to me, and he's like obviously not from New Orleans, and he's just like, hi. He was like reading my sign, and he was like, spiritual healing, what does that mean? And I was like, for for $10 I will like use my hands to open up your chakras and promote spiritual healing within your body, while also like giving you like really like positive reinforcement about your life and about things to come with you. And he was just like, oh, I'll bite. He was like, that sounds great. And I was like, I actually don't have my wheels. It kind of sucks, but I don't have them. I was like, and I was like, oh, well, I was like, that's awesome, but I actually, like, I can't do a reading right now because I don't have my wheels. And he was like, oh, like, are they coming? And I'm like, yeah, they should be here in probably, like, 10 minutes. So then he went, like, to a bar or something, and I was still outside. And then this other dude comes up to me, and he's just like, yo, you are, like, so beautiful, like, I just want to know if I could, like, talk to you for a minute, like, if I could just talk to you. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And, like, I was talking to him hella normal, like, what's going on? And they're just trying to be nice to him. And, like, he's, like, talking to me and just, like, being, like, extra as fuck. And I'm just, like, I think it's kind of funny sometimes when guys, like, try to gas me and, like, try to act like, oh, like, I don't even know how to talk to girls, da-da-da. It's just, like, what are we doing here? But, like, what are you doing? It's, like, like, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes it's kind of funny to watch dudes, like, fumble over themselves, like, to talk to me, because it's just, like, do you even know, like, how ridiculous I am? You know what I mean? Like, you don't even know. It's like, stop it. Don't treat me like I'm some fucking cookie on top of a fucking desk. It's like, just be ridiculous. Like, it's just like, don't be ridiculous. So he was like hyping me up, and I was just like being nice to him, and then he asked me to dinner, and I was like, yeah, I would go to dinner with you. And he was like, for real? He was like, you're like really pretty. And I was like, I know. And then he's like, I bet dudes ask you to dinner all the time. And I was like, actually, not recently. Like, I really haven't been out to dinner, which was very true. I've not been out to a dinner in a very long time. So I was like, actually, this is my first dinner in the city. Like, I haven't been here for more than, like, 2 weeks. And he was just like, really? He's like, so I get you first? I'm, like, the first person to, like, hang out with you, really? And I'm like, you are the first. And even though, like, that made me uncomfortable for him to say that shit, I was just like, I just want this dinner. I really thought that shit. That's all I'm thinking about. Dead ass. Fuck out of here. Like, cause honestly, who knows if I'm gonna feel a vibe with you? But I know I'm gonna feel this motherfucking steak tip. You know what I mean? Sorry. Oh man, witch laugh forever, yo. Witch laugh all day. But yeah. So, anyways. So the dude that want to take me out to dinner, he gives me his phone number. He tells me his name's like Douglas or some shit, and he's like the fucking manager at Lowe's or something in the plumbing department. He's like, oh, I can hook up your plumbing, da da da. And I'm like, that's awesome, because like, I very sporadically do have like toilet issues because I do have large BMs. So I was like, it's really important for me to know somebody. I was being mad real with him too. I'm like, bitch, I'm not gonna keep it candid. I take big poops, and you gonna tell me you in the plumbing department? What did you want the conversation to look like? You know what I mean? We were already talking about the plumbing department. We were talking about shit. You know what I mean? We were talking about doo-doo and doo-doo accessories. That's what we were talking about. So I'm over here talking about how I need people, people who know what they're doing in the bathroom, because it's important to me. I was like past the And I even told him, I said, past the plunger, I'm useless. So I really need to learn some things in the bathroom. And we were like bantering back and forth. And then he ended up dipping out and going to hang out with his friends or whatever. And then this other dude comes back and he's like, your friend still didn't bring your wheels? And I'm like, no. So then that guy disappears after he gives me his number. And that other guy comes back and he's like, your friend still isn't back with the wheels to the chair? And I was like, no, they're not back. And then he was like, oh, okay. He's like, you know, you're really beautiful. And I was like, thank you. And then he was like, do you want a drink? And like in my mind, I was like, fuck yeah, I want a drink. But then I was like, bitch, I'm supposed to be doing your tarot. You don't want me to be fucking tips? That's crazy. You know what I mean? That's disrespectful. But also that's crazy because it's like you're trying to get me fucking tipsy and you expect me to like rub on you, like, you know, give you massages on your chakras while I'm tipsy. Like that just sounded like a sexual scene. You know what I mean? As soon as I like really like wrap my mind around it, I was like, that is a sexual scene. You know what I mean? But like I was just like, whoa, like after he asked me like to get a drink, I was like, you could bring me a drink. And then he started laughing and was like, I'll be back. And I'm like, cool. And then I was like, I hope that motherfucker does not come back. That motherfucker is weird. Because it's like, you're already trying to pay me to give you a massage. Cool. But now you're trying to, like, get me to drink with you. And it's like, I can't, like, how the fuck do you ask me to go get a drink with you at a bar if I have all this equipment and shit, my sign? It's like, what did you think? You know what I mean? Like, that was just wild to me. And then, like, last story, like, this fucking dude, this one was like one of the worst ones. I was like outside sitting on the corner and this dude comes up to me and like, no, he actually like tries to park his car in front of me and I was like, don't park here, you're gonna get towed. And then he was like, oh, thank you. And then he like goes away. And then like 20 minutes later he like walked up to me and he's like, thank you so much. And I was like, no problem. But in reality it was like, I wasn't trying to help you out, motherfucker. I wanted you to not block my fucking tarot stand. Like you parking there was gonna fuck up my hustle. So really, you didn't really need to thank me for anything. So I already was like trying to ignore this motherfucker and he kept standing there. He was like, oh, so he was like, where do you live? And I was like, here. And then he was like, where? I was like, in the street. And then he was like, you're homeless? And I was like, yep. And then he was just like, why? And then I was like, because I want to be. He goes, you want to live outside? And I was like, yep. And then he was just like, He's like, what about when it rains? I was like, then I go somewhere dry. And then he was like getting mad. He was like, why don't you come home with me tonight? Have a shower, have some food. I was like, fuck you. And then he was just like, oh, he was like, you would rather be out here than come and stay with me and have a warm bed? And I was like, I would rather live outside than come with you and have a warm bed. And then he's like, I don't understand. I just don't understand. And I was just like, bruh, like, do you understand what you're saying to me? I'm on the street right now, and as far as you know, I live on the street. And you're offering me one night of probably ridiculous, like, shenanigans, like, on your end. Fuck out of here. Like, that sounds crazy as hell. Hell no, I don't want to fucking go with you. That don't sound fun. Hell no. That shit still don't sound fun. That nigga was scaring me. But then he, like, walked away and left, and I was like, that's awesome. I never had a situation where, like, somebody was like, after, you know, I snarkily, you know, verbally assaulted them, they didn't fuck off. But it was just like, damn, you know, like doing terror on the street. There were fun moments. There were definitely fun moments. One time, let me tell you about these crazy white people that came up to me. Oh my god. Alright, so this old ass white lady. Now when I'm talking about these old white people, I want you to think of like some like the caricatures, like let your mind go wild for a minute. Let your mind just stop and just think about like the whitest, southernest motherfuckers in the world. Like acting extra as fuck, just stunting on niggas. Like this one lady, this bitch had like she had like one of them little hats on with a big ass feather and a big ass cup in her hand with hella booze in it. And she had hella long pearls. Like, they was dressed like flappers and shit. Well, no, that's not true. One bitch was dressed like a flapper with a drink. And then this other bitch was dressed like... She was just dressed like Carrie Underwood. You feel me? Like a very dramatic blazer. And then jeans. And then, like, a tight white tee. And, like, a necklace with just some colorful rocks on it. but like a very gentlemanly blazer. Like think ringleader-esque. And there were these two white dudes, and one of them just looked like a nigga from Mad Men. You know what I mean? Not even looked like the dad from fucking My Girl. Okay, Dan Aykroyd and My Girl. One of them was giving me that, and then the other one was younger and had a cigar in his hand, but was dressed very similar to probably Paul Kinsey from Mad Men. So all these people were all together and just like, drinking down the street, just like slumping down the street, making hella noise. And like I'm sitting there, and then they stop, and they're like, the one that was just like Carrie Underwood was like this older white lady who had like a very like cigarette-y voice, and she was just like, "Hey, child," she's like, "Look at her telling things on the corner," and they were just like, I don't even know what they were saying really, and then they were just like all up in my face like, "Oh, do you know my family owns Frenchman Manor," and like telling me about the old white history of like the area I was in, and telling me how their family owns it all, and how they're rich and blah blah blah. And I'm sitting here like, my nigga, like, I don't care first, and number two, like, why are all y'all niggas chilling with me tonight? Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, why are y'all here right now? I didn't get that shit. So then the one that was like Carrie Underwood like was like, "I want you to read my cards. I want you to read them." And I was like, "Okay." And then so she sits in front of me, and I'm doing the reading and stuff, and she's telling me more and more crazy stuff about her life and things like that. And we go into it, and at one point, like I'm talking to her, and she's going crazy. She's like, "Girl, you're spot on. Girl, you're spot on." And her calling me girl kind of annoyed the fuck out of me. And I guess that's another part about being like outside, working outside with the public. It's like there is no HR. You feel me? There's no HR. You get a racist in your seat. You get someone white and acting not right in your seat. You really are like left at a point where you're like, do I bug out? You know what I mean? You're like, what is going to happen to me if I bug out right now? And luckily, I only had to bug out one time on this old white dude, but that wasn't bad. One time, tell me why, we was rolling a fucking joint, me and my friend Jerry, and this old ass white man was walking down the street. And he sniffed it, and he's like, "That ain't no cigarette." And I'm like, "I know, nigga, sit down." And this old ass white dude sat next to me. This nigga was like 70 years old, dead ass. Nigga was like, "My name's Ken." He sat next to me, and I let him hit that shit one time, and he gave me his cigar. He was like one of them old ass drunk white dudes with just enough cigar to be like, I got a cigar. You feel me? It was almost kind of little. So he handed me the cigar, and I'm puffing on the shit. And he puffing on the joint and shit, and we over here acting like we friends and shit. But then, like, I told that nigga to leave because he was just acting dry as fuck. But, like, I had some very silly times with white people. But I will tell you that white group that was around me, they ended up not even giving me no money. They ended up giving me half a cigarette. Like, you see, white people be bugging. Like, you see that shit though? Them niggas was like, "Oh, we're rich. Oh, bourgeoisie. Da da da. We own the manor." Can't even give me a fucking dollar. They all stood there for literally 10 minutes checking their pockets, talking about all they got is cards. Bitch, all the bars up here is motherfucking cash only though.